Shake up your day with the new Starbucks Iced Hazelnut Oat Milk Shaken Espresso. Layers of smooth blonde espresso, rich hazelnut, and creamy oat milk, shaken to delicious perfection. Order yours with the Starbucks app.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Do you have a point of sale system you can trust, or is it a real POS? You need Shopify for retail. From accepting payments to managing inventory, Shopify POS has everything you need to sell in person. Go to shopify.com/system, all lowercase, to take your retail business to the next level today. That's shopify.com/system.
Hello, it's Missing the Point. It's a Celtics show. So if you have no interest in the Boston Celtics or basketball in general, I would still listen because we're very interesting people. It is going to be centered around contract talks and basketball finances. So, unless you're like in the nitty gritty, you might have something to learn here. But essentially, we're here. I'm here with Mike Marcangelo and Rayshawn Buchanan. We're here to talk about, for the most part, Jaylen Brown's historic NBA contract. He's the highest paid basketball player of all time. I say historic with sort of like air quotes around it because my first reaction to the contract, I don't know about you guys. Maybe you're on the same page as me. We haven't talked a ton about it in the chat. But for me, it was like, well, I don't think he's going to be the highest paid basketball player of all time for very long. If you look at the top 5 players that have renewable contracts coming up in the next 3 years, your Joel Embiid's, your Giannis's, your Jayson Tatum's, I think that there's going to be numbers in the 300 millions popping up more frequently as our sport grows. I'm happy that the players get paid like this in basketball personally, but I think to start, we should talk about the idea of Jaylen Brown specifically getting paid this kind of money, because compared to what you would call like S tier, top tier, bona fide all-stars like your Giannis's, et cetera, your Jokic's, he's our second option, officially on this team. So him being the highest paid basketball player of all time, and the internet having like sort of, have cornered the market on instant reactions. And I get reacting to the principle of that, but realistically, Mike, I'll start with you. What else are we going to do? I mean, I know your stance on it sort of vaguely, but I go to you to sort of illuminate me. Was there another path we could have gone down that didn't result in just a disgruntled free agent Jaylen Brown, and like this essentially being dead money? Or do you think that, like, because I have seen you in the chat, like, balk a little bit at the idea of like us not being able to basically pay anybody else now because 90% of our cap is taken up. But like, was there an alternative? And if so, I would love to hear it. And I mean, maybe you have one. You're the numbers guy.
Yeah, so I don't have an alternative. I want to start off by saying, like, I do not begrudge him for taking his money. Like, $304 million, good for him. The problem that I have, because I mean, this is the way that the league's set up, right? I don't look at him as a person that should be the highest paid player in NBA history for any amount of time, and that's not a knock on him. He's not Tatum, he's not Curry, he's not the Joker, right? But he's just not that. So, but I don't blame him. Like I said, I don't blame him for taking it. I think the other option that you outlined would be that you don't pay him, and now you have a guy that's on the last year of his deal but doesn't want to be here, and then what, right? Because you don't really know, what you get for him. I think we talked about this a lot in the past. I think he shows up the most. I think you can never question his heart, but with him, it's all about the talent. And I'll just go back to what I said before. It's wild to me that you pay a guy $300 million over the course of 5 years, and he still can't dribble to his left. He just can't do it. And so no, I don't.
Well, he wasn't getting paid $300 million yet. Like,
right.
Maybe now to learn.
Now that he has no reason to learn.
Yeah.
Well, where's the incentive there? But I mean, we can dive into what all the morons on social media are saying about him later. But in terms of just basketball, he didn't set he just happened to get second, All NBA team, and he is a great player. I just would never say Jaylen Brown is a top 8 player in the NBA.
But aren't you aren't you 8 to 10 if you make second team All NBA, like by definition? Like if you're one of the 10 best players, right?
Yeah, I mean, but like the antagonist in me wants to say he made it once in the first 6 years, so he's getting paid because of that.
Yeah. Ray, I'm interested in your overall thoughts on the deal, but specifically to start it off, do you think would you agree with me that of all the players on our team, if there's anyone, because I think Mike hinted at this slightly, if there's anybody that isn't going to be swayed or lose motivation by a bag this size, it's Jaylen Brown, or is that just like a sort of a persona thing?
No, I think that's a fair point. I think that even I know I can say I think people thought that he might have took a little less because he took a little less when he re-upped a few years ago. I think it was like 4 years, 115, and that was a steal at the time because that was basically he was getting around Al Horford money to say we was like, wow, like that's crazy. We thought that he would want more. So lo and behold, 2 years later he wants more. But yeah, I think that he and and we'll talk about it from his press conference. Like
Yeah, I have a
he,
lot of notes on that because
yeah,
I do like the things he had
clearly,
to say.
yeah. Oh no, regardless, yeah. Whether we did 2 minutes on or 10 minutes out, that was going to come up
Yeah.
tonight. But it's just he's clearly invested and committed to generational wealth and helping others around him and near and far in attaining that goal. So I think that that's where his mindset was. But from a basketball standpoint, yeah, like I think that he's improved every year with the exception of the 2018, 2019 year where he took a little bit of a step back. But I just think that was a weird year for the team in general. With the things that was going on with,
His points
Kyrie,
per drive
Hayward.
his points per drive are actually up compared to
Yeah,
his rookie season in 2018, 2019. His overall efficiency does go down. I agree. And
yeah,
yeah, it was a weird year, but I was actually gonna make the same point that year on
yeah,
year he has improved.
yeah. That's where I don't get the disconnect that people are having here. It's just like he literally just got better every year. Once again, you can look at basketball reference, Google is your friend. He gets better every year. So yeah, is the handle and the turnovers infuriating? Of course. And once again, I'm on record and I'll say this as relevant to the conversation. The only deal that I thought would have been suffice for him in the offseason would have been if you traded him back home to Atlanta and we would have got DeJounte Murray, Okongwu, and I think in the City Bay back in the deal because I felt like that would have made it more well-rounded. You would have got 3-for-1 there. You could have maybe got some draft picks here. So I was on record with saying that. So for those that say to me, oh, you changed the tune. No, like I wanted him to stay, but once again, I understand that if there's anyone that marches to the beat of his own drum on this team, it's him. So he could have said, thanks, but no thanks. And then they would have had to, their hand would have been forced and they would have had to deal with him, if not now, but definitely by February. So yeah. So either way, like I'm glad he got his money. But like I said, in basketball wise, he's improved every year. And I think that, we still have another level to see him and JT get to in the future.
Yeah. Mike, I wonder if you could put your GM cap on for a second and just think about it from like the Brad Stevens point of view, right? If you are trying to run this basketball team in like the most efficient, business savvy and basketball savvy way that you possibly can, you can't have the attitude that the masses have. And this is just something that Ray made me think of as he was talking. You can't have the attitude the masses have of like, my last memory of Jaylen Brown is who Jaylen Brown is, right? Like you can't say like, okay, he fucked up against the Heat. He was like a big part of the reason why we didn't win that series because he didn't come to play the way that we know that he can. And yes, I agree. Like his handles are frustrating. If you're Brad Stevens, I think you have to look at it from an overall perspective, like the whole pie chart, right? You can't be like, we can't pay a guy 364 or whatever it is that's got handles like that. Like we can't, you know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
Ray's made this point previously. It's like, go find me 27 a night somewhere else. Like it's not out there, like it's
Right.
it's not something you're going to just go scoop up, So you're in sort of like, I guess the overall point I'm trying to make, and I'm talking to you guys, but really I'm talking to the world at large with like this sort of general dumb fuckery that's gone on around this deal. You
Mhm.
have to look at it, and Mike, tell me if you agree. Just if you're Brad Stevens, like I know what you're saying as a Celtics fan, and I do hear that point. But if you're Brad Stevens, you have to just make the correct call here, right? Like the correct call
Yeah,
for Boston is to give him this money to keep this core together. And also, I think to his credit and the overall team's credit, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more as the preseason comes up and as the season progresses, putting a supporting cast of veterans around Joe Mazzulla and changing the emphasis from the backcourt to the front court, which is something I've been stabbing myself in the fucking eyes talking about for the last 3 goddamn years. And like actually making that move and actually making that happen and saying essentially to the team, if not the world, it wasn't Jaylen Brown's fault that we couldn't get it done. Where the team as currently constituted wasn't correctly put together. We were imbalanced. We need this, and this. We had a first-year coach. We had coaching imbalances and issues in the offseason beforehand. So if we look at this team and we look at their core, we can't lose faith in their core. It would be a dumb basketball decision. Is that at least fair?
yeah. No, and listen, it's completely fair. Like, you can't let this guy go. You definitely can't get nothing back for him, right? The way that I look at this is, listen, again, I'm on record on this show, and it will go down in history as probably the worst take ever, that I would trade Jayson Tatum over Jaylen Brown, because I like that. You know, I like his heart. I like all of it. My point that I guess I'm trying to make though is, I don't really look at this as a 5-year deal. This is a 2-year deal, because when Tatum
It's a depending on success deal though, right? Like
right.
it's what happens in those 2 years. I agree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, like listen, if they go the Warriors route, they win 2 in the next 2 years, or they win 1 and they're in the finals the next year. Then you have to think about, okay, we have to pay Brown and Tatum both supermax, and then we get to the part where 90% of the cap is taken up by 3 players. But I think too much of the onus was, we all put blame on Jaylen in the playoffs. Like all 3 of us on this show.
Of course, it was very frustrating to watch at the
Right.
time. You
Yep.
know, like
Yep.
this is like I think the listeners at home know that there's 2 versions of this show. There's this, which is the analytical. You know, what did I do this week? It wasn't very fucking basketball related. You know what I mean? Like I read some tweets on basketball Twitter. Like I went on the fucking Celtics, like Boston.com Celtics page, you know, like and browsed it for a second, as opposed to in the fucking foxhole on the fucking front lines. It's a little bit of a different perspective. But now that we have some room, is what I'm saying. This is like speaking to my overall point.
No, 1,000%. This is, you have to do whatever you can do for the next 2 years to see if this core can win. And I think that they've made the moves in this offseason, with this included, is that, okay, we like you said, we started Joe with actual assistant coaches that have been in the league. We now got Porzingis, who's going to change the offense and flip it on its head. And it should make the likes of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown easier. See what you can do. But I do think that this, I'm glad he got paid. In my opinion, as we record this is still just a 2-year deal.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. You might say all kinds of stuff when things go wrong, but these are the words you really need to remember. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. They've got options to fit your unique insurance needs, meaning you can talk to your agent to choose the coverage you need, have coverage options to protect the things you value most, file a claim right on the State Farm mobile app, and even reach a real person when you need to talk to someone. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
Yeah. I think that from a basketball sense, I think we're all in sort of an agreement here. Nobody wanted to break up the Jays. Nobody wanted to break it up, at least in the sense of like, let's let Jaylen Brown get pissed off and then like have another tumultuous offseason. I think we're all on the same page there. And I do want to talk about what this team looks like. Again, I know we've like touched on it like since the Porzingis trade, and we've all sort of talked about it separately, but I do want to have another conversation at some point about what this team looks like from a basketball sense. But before we do that, I think it's important to note, like, I mean, obviously the socialist in me loves to hear this. I fucking loved his press conference. Like it was like one of my favorite, if not my favorite. It probably was my favorite contract signing press conference of all time, only because I don't remember having any emotions about any other ones, because like, who gives a shit? But for him to come in and say things like, I want to attack the wealth disparity. The exact quote was, I want to launch a project to bring Black Wall Street here to Boston. I want to attack the wealth disparity here. I think there's analytics that support that stimulating the wealth gap could actually be something that could be betterment for the entire economy. With the biggest financial deal in NBA history, it makes sense to talk about, one, your investment in the community, but two, also the wealth disparity here that nobody wants to talk about. It's top 5 in the US, and it's something we can all improve on. It's unsettling. And that's true. Massachusetts ranks in the top 5 across all 50 states in the largest income inequality gap. The entirety of America is suffering from a boulder hurtling down a mountain that is income inequality, that I have to tell you, if history is any indication, results in the richest 1% of people getting their fucking heads chopped off. So I think at the end of the day, Jaylen Brown is doing, at least, first of all, saying it out loud, which we love. I think that, you know, it does a couple of things. From a personal level, it immediately like deflects any shut up and dribble bullshit, or like, you know, go do this and this. It's like he's speaking intelligently on this subject. Like, he's saying things that are factually true that can be backed up with statistics and numbers. So anybody that wants to get stupid about it in the comment section, go off, because you sound fucking stupid. Secondly, like, and that's from a personal PR standpoint. Secondly, it's doubling down on his buying in on being a member of this community, being a member of the Boston Celtics, but also being a member of Boston and Massachusetts as a whole. So, Ray, I'll start with you on this. I think, you know, can you speak to Jaylen Brown's perspective on the subject, the Celtics' perspective on the subject, and if you're happy with having somebody like this on the team whose immediate reaction, because I certainly am, but whose immediate reaction is to be like, what can I do with this money? I'm sure there's people out there that were saying it's lip service, but I feel like he's put his money where his mouth is in the past and like shows up for this stuff. So we'll see, I guess.
Yeah, the lip service comments were there. And I put in air quotes, the shut up and dribble comments were there too.
Of course, this is the internet.
Yeah, but it was so it was just the level of ignorance and ineptitude that is around Celtics Twitter at times, and just the internet as a whole was really, really annoying. Once again, not surprising, but very, very annoying to see. But to answer your question, I think that it may be the first time we've heard an athlete in the city speak about that. Maybe, and granted, we wasn't around for Bill Russell, and obviously, you know, I know you and I did a show, DK, about, you know, his legacy, meeting Bill Russell when he passed away last year. But, you know, I mean, obviously, we know what he was fighting against, and social injustices, and you know, trying to make things right at that time. But I don't know if we've had an athlete in the city that speak about that. I know Matthew Slater speaks about some stuff as a Patriot, but like I said, Tatum is that someone. And once again, I think he seems like he's more of a behind the scenes person. He doesn't seem like he wants to talk about stuff on the front line. That's fine. I don't, like I said, Pierce wasn't like this. Antoine Walker was like this. Jaylen Brown wasn't like this. Cedric Maxwell, so on and so forth. So
I don't know if the culture of the NBA was or is like this. To be totally honest with
no,
you,
sure, right. But I'm speaking to the fucking idiots that you know that
I'm not saying that's a good thing.
You know, he's saying this, and you know, you need to worry about dribbling left. I'm like, yo, some of y'all couldn't go right or left in a YMCA. You worried about someone that gets up at night in the NBA? Are you dumb? Are you for real? Like that's what blows my mind. But and anyways, I just think, to me, to show, once again, to get that type of deal and immediately say, it's not like, oh, like I'm going to get a car, and once again, getting in one of people's house, that's nothing wrong with that. But that's usually the first instance we get, right? Getting my mom a house, or getting my, you know, I know it's close to his grandfather, getting my grandfather a house, which that'd have been a phenomenal answer. I don't think anyone would have been mad about that. But when you attack, like, and want to give the intellect he gave to that, you know, with that answer, it's like, yo, like, I am super proud to have him still here in Boston. And yeah, like you said, Dave, like it shows his commitment, not just to excellence, but commitment to, you know, making sure that this city is a lot better when he leaves than when he found it. So once again, if that's not a guy you want to represent your franchise, I don't know what is, honestly.
Yeah.
So I think that everything that you just said, I 1,000% agree with, right? I think that the biggest knock on his basketball game, by every talking head around here, has always been, he doesn't seem like he's invested in his community, in the community, and doesn't want to be part of Boston. I mean, how can you watch that press conference and still think that? Like it is, all this guy wants to do off the court, it seems, is make other people's lives better and leave this place better than when you walk into it. So like, listen, I'm of the mindset that I still think he needs to work on dribbling to the left, although I could not dribble to the right or to the left. But that does not mean that he should not be able to do all the great things that he's intending to do in the community. Like my favorite quote of the press conference, and it's not I'll just do air quotes because I can't really go word for word. But when they said like, what was your reaction when you found out? And he said, like we were just in the middle of a robotics seminar here with the kids. And I was like, that is fucking awesome. How could you question this guy's integrity? You can't.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I something you said, Ray.
I mean, I've been jumping around personally. I'm not. Once again, I want to be clear. Sean Buchanan would not have given that type of answer to Jaylen Brown. I want to be clear. I would have talked about I'm going to get a house. I'd have got my mom. I never talk about all of that. I'd have talked about let's reinvent back into this show. I'd have been talking about all that. I would not have talked about. Yeah, I'm just being honest. Would I have given to some schools? Absolutely. But I would not have talked about what he spoke about yesterday. I'm just being real.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, it's an interesting point you bring up though, because it's the difference between talking about it and doing it. And I think that, like I said, I do think he's going to follow through with this stuff. I do think this is the kind of guy he is. I think that he's proved that already. And I as you guys were talking, I was just scrolling because I have the quotes pulled up, but I happened to find the quote on a Fox News affiliate, and I was scrolling down the comments, and you had said like, not surprising, but like annoying. And like reading some of these comments, it's like you feel like you get dumber by the second. One person, for instance, brought up the idea that he's like, well, great. Because of your big contract, all the tickets are going to get more expensive for us, the average workers. And I was like, that's just like a lack of basic economic understanding. Like, unfortunately, sir, like that's just not how that works. But like, there's no like the idea.
Tickets are high though. You're not wrong.
Yeah, well, but like the thing is like
high, that's not why.
There's two factors. There's two principal factors in ticket prices going up. Well, I'd say three actually. It's the success of the team. So how much you can charge for the product, right? I'd say that's like number one. We're a top 7 team, probably top 3. We're probably the betting favorites to win the whole fucking thing at this point with the Porzingis trade. So yeah, the tickets are going to be expensive. 2 is inflation, which we're actually not doing too bad compared to the rest of the world right now in America. But 3 is fucking secondary sales. Like all you have to do is go to Congress and pass a fucking law that Ticketmaster can't charge you fucking up the ass for selling on tickets that bots bought when Taylor Swift is playing or whatever the fuck. Like that's one bill to like solve that, and you're like mad at Jaylen Brown. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Education is key, guys. So, but my point that it made me think when you were talking about this, Ray, is the idea of talking about something and bringing awareness to bringing a conversation to a subject that maybe doesn't get touched on. Like, I didn't know that Massachusetts specifically, and we do a fucking Boston sports podcast here, like this is primarily what we talk about, but I didn't know that Massachusetts had such a high income inequality gap. That wouldn't occur to me on face value about the Massachusetts I experienced. But then you start to think about it, you start to look at it, you start to think about the kind of towns that you can go to as you travel west of Boston, right? When you hit your like Southboroughs and you hit your Berkshires and all this different stuff, and you're like, oh yeah, I do remember that like Grafton looked a lot fucking different from Southborough. You know what I mean? And you do start to think about these things. And the fact that he just said that in the press conference, like regardless of taking the money and making generational wealth happen and changing the income gap in his community, I learned something from it. Like, why can't we talk about it? Why can't we bring this shit up and like I actually have a conversation about it? And the thing is like people that say shut up and dribble, it's like everyone on earth has a platform now. We have a platform. Everybody's got a fucking Twitter account or a Threads account or whatever. But some people are still listened to more than others. And somebody signing a $304 million contract is going to get listened to more than other people. It's still a higher platform. It's still a voice that gets to more people. So him turning around and saying like, this is a problem is helpful in and of itself. So I welcome the hate as always. If you guys want to comment on that point, I'm happy to engage with you.
Honestly, fuck. That's my,
that's what I mean.
yeah,
It just
yeah,
doesn't
honestly,
bother me. And also, like
it doesn't make sense.
specifically, I think what he's talking about is the idea that all over this country, because of disparities in station from the time that Black people were forced to come here, you are still playing fucking catch up. So when you have a league that is predominantly Black, you get to turn around and say, like, yeah, I'm going to probably do something to fix that when I make a fucking $1 billion. You know what I mean? Like, why the
Right.
fuck wouldn't you? You know? So I think it brings context to this conversation. I think it brings awareness to this conversation. And the thing about this stuff is, it's hard to talk about because of the amount of people that disagree and because of the amount of people that are in a position where they're ignorance and they're allowed to just show their fucking ass on the internet. But the only thing that fixes it is conversations about it repeatedly, hard conversations, shit
Right.
people don't want to hear. And also the thing that fixes everything,
Right.
cold hard cash. So yeah, it's not a problem. There's no such thing as a problem if you can pay to make it go away. It's not a problem. It's just not an issue anymore. So I do hope he's able to do that. I'm looking forward to seeing what he's able to do with it. But back
Absolutely.
to basketball, because that is what we do here primarily. And I apologize for the preachy. Actually, I don't. Fuck you guys.
Yeah, right.
But let's talk about the Celtics team as they're currently constituted, because I am actually excited to start thinking about how we're going to play basketball. And I think if you look at the way that like, I was just having a conversation with a friend the other day, and he brought up this point to me, which I didn't agree with, where he was like, well, why do we need 2 wings? And I was like, because it's better, like 2 wings at this level is what he was saying. Like, why do 2 of our best guys both need to be wing players? And it's like, my opinion on it, like, let me know what you guys think, is because we're so much better than everybody else at that position. Like, and you can see it, right? And I think that the idea, and this is what I mean, this is nothing new that I've said to you guys a million times before, the idea of the backcourt being the focus, right? Because what is a backcourt, right? It's a facilitation area of the court. Like, you're playmaking from there. Yeah, you're scoring from there for sure, but you're running guys out. You're playing good defense to start. You know, you're meeting the other team defensively head on with a solid backcourt. Like, all these things do matter. But when you have 2 wings that can, bring the ball up. I know we have issues with Jaylen Brown's dribbling, but that can bring the ball up, that can drive, that can be effective at the rim. My opinion has always been the best support for that is a solid front court. So now that we have rim protection, another solid 3-point shooter and inside scoring for Kristaps Porzingis, Mike, I don't think I've gotten your opinion on it. I know you've done shows surrounding it, but now that we have this, how do you see us playing basketball? And I, of course, neglected to mention, shame on me, the additions of our veteran coaching staff now. And how is it that you see us playing basketball? And how different is it going to be than this time in May?
Yeah, well, I actually think that there's going to be a more or bigger emphasis on defense this year than there was last year. And because that was
fucking
the first,
from your mouth to God's ears.
That was the first thing that Jaylen talked about when he was asked about the addition and then Marcus leaving. So I think that there's going to be, the defense is definitely going to be on the line of the Celtics. I also think now that they're in a great position to run the give and go with Porzingis and either Brown or Tatum. Now, like, that just changes everything. You don't need Al Horford to play 82 games from a center. You can slide him out to be a power forward if you want. You can have Rob do that too. I don't think that this team is going to fall back defensively. I think they're actually going to see a great improvement. And I think the addition of Porzingis will make life easier for Jaylen Brown. He will not have to press that much or drive with such emphasis to the basket, because Porzingis is going to be around. Like, everyone is going to be worried about him. You weren't worried about Rob taking a 3. And in the playoffs, you really weren't worried about Horford taking the 3 because he went like 0 for 100 in that last series and a half. Now, like, I don't think the lane's going to be as crowded as it was last year, which will make Jaylen Brown better.
Yeah. I think the idea of, and me and Ray and Bobby had a conversation about this not too long ago, like being able to score at every level, where you have to basically make the defense pick their poison. And I think that we're so much more balanced on that now than we were before. Specifically when it comes to Jaylen Brown, Ray, like, what kind of a season are you expecting him to have? Are you thinking that a defensive emphasis, the addition of Sam Cassell and what's the other guy's name?
Charles Lee.
Yeah, Charles Lee. With the addition of those two guys, with the addition of Porzingis, and I think maybe some moves still in the works, and we are going to talk about like a wish list, a dream trades that or signings that could still happen before the season gets underway. But specifically around Jaylen Brown, since this is the sort of theme of the show, where do you think we're going to see him? What kind of a player is he going to be next year? I mean, it sounds like you think he's going to improve.
You don't have to buy custom window treatments in person because Blinds.com invented a better way. Blinds.com is 100% online. There's no showroom markups or waiting hours for quotes from pushy salespeople. A Blinds.com designer helped me pick the perfect style for free. And Blinds.com shipped free samples right to my door. You can DIY or book a pro like I did with just one click. Best of all, everything's covered with the Blinds.com 100% satisfaction guarantee.
Shop Blinds.com for 35% off site-wide. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Yeah, so oddly enough, so I know he got 20 was like a little under 27 tonight this year. I think offensively he takes a step back points wise. Obviously I still think that he still will give.
Because we don't need him to score as much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think I think he goes from 26 a game, 27 a game to like 22 or 23 a game. I think he makes his first All NBA selection this year. I think that happens. I think that it would be. And once again, he has the tools to do so. Once again, if him and Derek White out there on a regular basis should wreak havoc just like it did when Smart was out there at times. So I love that possibility. So yeah, I think once again for him saying it, I think that's where he's going to remind people that he was or that he is a really good two-way player, not just someone that's going to dunk on you or was really good from the mid range. So yeah. I think all defensive team selection is coming, and I think that's where we'll see the improvement. In addition, hopefully to the to the ball handling because that's needed. But to answer your question about how I think we're gonna play, I don't think. I mean, I know last year they did a lot of 5 out, which is basically essentially just not having someone in the paint. I think that does change. I know people think that Porzingis is all he does is shoot threes, and yes, that is the element of his game that. Once again, we were clearly missing, alongside Warford. But I do think the fact that he's able to have a post-up game and, as I always say about, scoring from every level, he can do that. So I think that it just makes them more of a threat everywhere. And it makes them less predictable. And that's the key. I think at times it was like, your turn, my turn. So they would get.
I mean, how many times have we had that conversation?
Right. Yeah.
It's my turn basketball. Yeah. Like, we have to get away from that.
Right, exactly. So they would get bogged down, when it mattered most. So hopefully that's, once again, it's going to happen at times next year. That's just, certain nights you're just off. Hopefully more times than not, we see something where it's like, okay, they are running actual offense through certain people. And we last time we was on, we just talked about stuff with Rob. Rob was out here trying to get his KG shit on. And we talked about this. We've been asking for this.
Yes.
Can they get a 15-foot jumper? Because that changes a lot of things for this team. If he's able to hit a 15-foot shot, like a LaMarcus Aldridge, or even matter of fact, I don't even want to put that type of pressure on him. LaMarcus Aldridge was a number 2 pick back in the day.
Yeah, but you and I agreed on
Let's be Brandon Bass.
You and I settled on. I think we because I wanted a Euro step for Rob Williams.
Oh yeah.
And you were like a drop step. You were like a drop step. Let's just settle on a drop step. And I was like, okay,
just be Brandon Bass.
Just
be Brandon Bass. Someone
he's so fucking long though. Like he's so long. If he had any sort of touch, like layup, finishing ability,
it'd be a wrap.
It'd
be a wrap.
My God, like I would just have him. You remember when the Lakers had Andrew Bynum, and it was like. It was like all the potential in the world, like trapped inside somebody with a brain that just had no interest in getting good at basketball. It's like, he was just like, and he was always injury prone. So like, I shouldn't shit on him too bad, but it was like Kareem was taking him to the gym and shit. I'm like, Rob, just like, I can think of 5 ex-NBA players that you should just be at the gym with every fucking day.
So, so ironically, before you let Mike go, what's funny about that, right? Andrew Bynum had phenomenal footwork. He just couldn't finish.
Unbelievable.
He had $1 million moves, but
he was so athletic for his size. Like,
it was just
the
like
Lakers, as annoying as it was from like, every Lakers fan you ever talked to that was like, just wait until Bynum, like, it's ... Just wait until Bynum. They were not wrong. Like, it must have been so fucking frustrating to be like, just do the thing. And I'm just worried that where, the pendulum is swinging one way or the other for Rob, because he could be such a beast around the rim, and I'm talking about, and this is the point I've always made. I just want to keep doubling down on it, because I'm not talking about being static or getting held up under the rim when Giannis or Jokic or any of those guys are around there, right? Or Embiid, especially Embiid, because Embiid fucking murders him. I don't know if we talked about that enough, but Embiid absolutely fucking owns Rob Williams, which is fine. I mean, if that's the guy that it's not that big of a deal.
Everybody, so
okay. But he especially fucking was just absolutely torturing Rob in that series. But it's if Rob could just get a little speed facing the basket and a move facing the basket, so we can have him help finish in transition, you're going to watch Kristaps do on the pick and roll, hopefully, if they know what to do with him. Mike, I'm curious about your opinion on this too, because the idea, this is something I think that you could probably have a little catchphrase in our Discord group when the Celtics came on. I think your catchphrase would probably be, just go to the fucking rim. Just go to the fucking rim. And Ray touched on this before I went off.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Before I went off on a prerequisite, the NBA from 2006 to 2009 Andrew Bynum rant. We were talking about this 5-out offense that the Celtics play, and I think that you're a perfect guy to have here, because besides me, you're probably the person who most doesn't want to see a 5-out Celtics offense. And I think, yes, the addition of Kristaps on paper makes it look like we just added another 3-point shooter, but I think the problem isn't necessarily our 5-out play. It's the fact that we let guys get put on an island when we were 5-out, and every single time we did that, it looked like our last resort. If you're going to play that basketball, you got to do it. And I don't fucking murder me, Celtics Twitter, but you got to do it the Brad Stevens way. You got to pass it real fucking fast around the perimeter so that somebody gets space, or drive and dish. I know it's not technically 5-out if someone's in the paint, but you got to get the guys on the perimeter space, because it's not a good shot if someone's in your fucking face. It's just not. I don't care if you're fucking Jayson Tatum. You know what I mean? It's just not a good shot. And when we're settling for this, your turn, my turn, ISO ball, on an island stuff, Mike, I know you're one of the top contenders for most frustrated when this happens. And I would love to hear your dream scenario with this new look Celtics front court of what a pick and roll, or what even a pick and pop with Kristaps. You can run those. What does this Celtics basketball look like in the paint now?
You remember the brand of basketball that they played when IT, in his MVP year, when Brad, it was just. It was team basketball. There was none of that ISO shit, even though we all knew that IT was the guy.
Right.
He always either got himself open or he was passed open. I think on this team, if you run that similar Brad Stevens offense, it's going to be deadly, because if you look at their starting five, and let's just assume that their starting five is Porzingis, Horford, the two J's, and then you just pick the point guard. Where can they not score from? And what can they not do? Right. So, but the one thing, to your point, that always pissed me off is everyone was just standing around the 3-point line, and no one would go for the rebound or try to cut down the lane. I don't know. I think on this team, it's just going to be opened up so much more, because even if Porzingis stays in just the corner the entire fucking time, he's going to take a big whip. Because he's 7-3. You can't leave someone in the lane, and it's just going to be easier to get that easy basket. But on the Rob Williams thing, one thing is, I'm all for improving your game. I'm all for improving your mid range, especially. And I think that's one of the things that we don't talk about Jaylen Brown enough, is that you don't really see it in his field goal percentages. But when he first came into the league, he was just primarily he was a dunker, 5 feet within the rim. His mid range game is actually lethal now. When he's good. That step back jumper, it's unbelievable. I don't think Rob is that.
Couldn't agree more.
I do think that if he can shoot from 10 feet, great, but I'm not sure I want to sacrifice him being the most efficient shooter in the league 2 years in a row when he's played more than 50 games.
No, just balance, baby. Balance. That's all. You're not wrong, but just balance. Do I want him to gamble with someone's head? Absolutely. So I could go crazy in the Discord? Of course. But every now and then, once again, just a little floater. You
got to make him think about it.
That's a little floater. That's all
you got to make him think about it. This is the thing. Everybody here at some point has played in a defensive position in a sport, and the person you want to be defending is the person who's making you think about one thing. Because it's like,
Right.
okay, maybe that one thing sucks to defend, but that's the thing I'm thinking about. This is the thing he's going to do every single time. If you're making him think, if you're making him take pause, like, oh, he actually can hit that a couple times. Like, we don't ever do that as a team. Like, this is something that frustrates me. Like, to your point, Mike, like Jaylen Brown's mid-range game, right? Like, if Joe Mazzulla was like everybody's high school basketball coach, he would be looking at Jaylen Brown and saying right to him at the start of every game, I want you to put two, like just two fucking pull-up jump shots from the mid-range just to get started. Just like whether they go in or not, just like fucking two pull-up jumpers from the fucking mid-range. Like, and then if you hit both of those, they have to come towards you on defense and you fucking blow by them because you're probably almost certainly the fastest fucking player on the court over 7 to 8 yards, right? So, because his explosiveness is undeniable. I mean, we talk about the drawbacks in his game and the things that he can improve on, but that's because there's things that are on the fucking record, like in the Bible already, that he is definitely really fucking good at and really elite at, and one of that is his athleticism. I mean, he's 26, about to turn 27, and there's still a lot of there's a durable fucking players in their mid-30s in the NBA now. Like, it's 2023. So you look at that and you say, go out there and hit two fucking mid-range jump shots, because honestly, I don't really remember him missing those like at the start of the game. To be honest, like I can't. It doesn't come to mind. So you go do that. Then you say something to Derek White along the lines of, like, I'm talking about getting it back to basics at the start of the regular season here, essentially, in order to create a more complicated system. The way to do that, Mike, your original suggestion, defense, right? Like, obviously that's a way to do that. But I also don't want them to get fucking exhausted if we have a short rotation to start, because if you look at our top 7 guys, we're in really great shape right now. But like, I'm a little concerned about like where Peyton Pritchard and et cetera sort of fit in. But that's another conversation. You say to Derek White, like, yo, I don't need you to score, like, for the first quarter. Like, I just don't need you to score. Like, if it's there, take it. But like, I need you to start facilitating and playmaking for everybody, like, because you're now the starting point guard. Like, I'm not discouraging you from getting your floater. I'm not discouraging you from taking an open shot. Like, that's the way we play basketball. But you got to start looking for guys. Like, this is what we're doing here. Like, we got to move the ball around. So once everybody gets that first thing down, right? And Rob, you say to Rob Williams something along those lines, like, protect the rim and, decoy here, set screens here, blah, blah, blah. Then you start adding things like, Rob, now it's time to pull out the fucking floater. Now it's time to pull out the drop step. Jaylen, now it's time. You can shoot threes from that corner. They're leaving you open in that corner. Then that's how you make teams pick their fucking poison against where you can score from everywhere, right? Because you start out, it's like an anaconda. You start out where it's like it's just slowly coming around your neck, and then all of a sudden you're down 26, and you're like, how the fuck did that happen? That's how you take control of a basketball game with a team like this. This is how I've seen elite teams like this do this, right? With this much talent on a roster. If the best example I can point to is the good version of Eric Spoelstra's Heat with D Wade, LeBron, and Chris Bosh on it, right? Where all of a sudden, you'd be playing, you'd be like, oh, I think I'm doing pretty good against LeBron. I think I'm doing pretty good against LeBron. And then it's like, boom, alley-oop. Holy shit, that alley-oop put us down 14? What the fuck? And it's just like, it's like quicksand. Oh shit, time out. And because they would blister teams, but not right away. And I think this is a thing that the Celtics need to do a little bit better at overall, is they would have all these conversations in the locker room in between games about, like, we're going to start so hot, da-da-da. It's like, no, dude, you're good. There's a lot of fucking basketball to play. We're a veteran team now. You're fine. You start to impose your will. And like the most elite boxers you've ever seen, right? They come out and they go like, all right, what do you got? Like, they're not scared of getting punched. Like, what do you got? And then you slip a few punches, you block a few punches, then you go, okay, my turn. And like, that's how I want to see the Celtics play basketball. That's how I want to see them grow finally into this veteran team. And I hope
that makes me nervous, though.
Because of how the crowd is.
Because not well, yeah. I mean, from a job standpoint, yeah, like that part, yeah. But I mean, from how they basically, this is just my PTSD from how they respond to things, right?
Oh, totally.
Whenever teams think they have a shot against us, some guy usually goes crazy, and then next thing you know, it's like, oh, Celtics are down 88-75. It's like, yo, he was up 20 in the first half.
But that's my point. That's my point. And like, that's not going away by starting and punching them in the mouth and trying to do all the things that we're doing. That's going away by welcoming it. That's going away by saying like, we're so much better than you. Like throw at us what you got. I'm not saying don't play the fucking game. I'm saying let the game come easy to you. You know what I mean? Like do you remember like when Jayson Tatum first got in the league? Like I noticed this. We weren't doing a podcast yet, but I noticed this. I don't know if you guys did, but like how easily the game came to him. Like he just took the things that were there. And like there's been changes to his game where it's because he's elite now. It's because he's like more is required of him and like and et cetera, et cetera. This isn't a criticism, but that was one of the elite qualities that he had first coming into the league. It's like take what's there, guys, because there's going to be so many things there. Like don't force it. Don't force it. And then recognize the moment. You know, recognize the moment where it's time to step on their fucking neck and put them away, you know, because there is still this mentality issue with this Celtics team. And like, that's why specifically the Heat are our biggest kryptonite, right? Because they have this opposite mentality where they don't have nearly as much talent as us. Like you can't fucking argue that. They just don't. But they have this thing, right? Like they have this thing in their fucking heads where they can go like, we can get to these fucking chumps. Like we can start to fucking rattle them and piss them off and we can make Jaylen Brown cough up the ball. I guess on the Jaylen Brown theme, my point is it's not necessarily that his handles need to get better. It's that he needs to know when to not put himself in that position to turn that ball over because it was always the worst possible fucking time, you know? And I just think it's like, that's the last bastion, you know, that's the last bridge we need to cross here. And if we don't, it's going to be the same story.
Most times that happen, and maybe I'm wrong, but I just think about what I've seen on video. Most of those times happen in ISO.
This is brought to you by Fruity Pebbles. Add some creativity to your mornings with Cocoa Pebbles. With rich chocolatey flavor to feed big inspirations, Cocoa Pebbles turns the world into a playground, making breakfast a delightful canvas for creativity. Explore a world of culinary adventures and transform ordinary pancakes into chocolatey masterpieces. So what are you gonna yabba dabba do next? Head to postpebblescereal.com to learn more. Yabba dabba do and the Flintstones and all related characters and elements, copyright and trademark Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah.
Right? So he's trying to make a play, right? He's trying to make a play, which it's like, it's cool, but if they do what you have alluded to, what Mike's alluded to, Bobby's alluded to, everyone has been on the show has alluded to at some point. If you're running more pick and roll or
which we ran none of,
you know,
by the way.
yeah,
right? You know what I mean?
so,
we just
yeah,
never
so,
did it.
Yeah, if you run pick and roll, whether it be from the side or from the, but like I said, we talked about this, but I'm gonna say it again because it matters. We're going to keep saying it until it happens all the time. Brown and Tatum should be in pick and rolls at least 60% of the time. At least. You know, and for those that wonder, oh, why put your two best players? Look at the mid 2000s Phoenix Suns team. Steve Nash and Mark Stoudemire will run pick and rolls, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's still to this day the most unstoppable play in basketball when it's run correctly. It's there. And once again, Tatum, to me, I'd let Tatum be the guy or let Brown be the one that rolls to the basket. I feel like he's the better finisher at the rim than Tatum at times. He's stronger than him. Even though, I mean, I know Tatum's a little bit bigger, but I think to me that would be that's where it happens. Look, you try to do ISO stuff. That's where most of the mistakes happen. Once again, you eliminate that if you put them in action, put the defender in action where they can't just fight around and hit the ball. That's what was happening too. It's like these guys have long arms, so of course.
Because we're so long as a team. Like from 1 to 5, we're so fucking long as a team now. And like especially looking at like Derek White as the starting point guard. But to your point, like yes, I do agree that we should be running plays centered around the pick and roll, the pick and pop now, especially with Porzingis, like a 7'3" guy in there. Like why would you waste it? But trigger points that you run in drills in practice where it's like if you see Jaylen Brown get stuck in isolation because the play's broken down, don't worry about the shot clock. That should trigger one of two guys to come set a screen, right? Instead, it's everybody standing around fucking looking at him, right? Like that, like those trigger moments where it's like, okay, he's getting caught on an island right now. We didn't set up this ISO on purpose. It's not a mismatch. The play's broken down. We got like Rob, Al, Kristaps, Jayson, like these guys, these big, long guys that recognize this happening. The second it happens, bang, set a screen. You're right over there to set the screen. And because we run the pick and roll so much in this hypothetical, magical fucking wonderland where we play good basketball, because we run the pick and roll so much, we know how to do it. Additionally, if we're doing that all the time in practice, we finally know how to get around screens. defensively. So it's
or
just like
even,
it all fucking trickles down.
or even with the zones too, like
The
because
fact that we get beat by a gimmick play in
well,
basketball is so fucking
it's yeah. I mean, it's yes, and it definitely is a gimmick defense. But the thing is, to me now, if that's the case, and I think about the Miami's, I think about even how Philly ran some stuff, Milwaukee as well. Teams are getting away from man defenses because everyone can't guard their yard. So now you have who should be the ultimate. I literally drew a blank that quickly, but the ultimate, so the ultimate zone buster. Excuse me, the ultimate zone buster and Porzingis, and he as soon as that happens, put the guy who's 73 in the middle. Someone has to come. That's good. That's always going to be.
Right.
Someone has to move up. That has to happen every time.
Or just let us score every single time. Those are your two options.
Rob should be the guy that's coming either from the right or left hand side. You throw it up to him, like it's an and one or someone's getting fouled. Like that to me.
That's an interesting point, actually, Mike. Do you think
you can run that every time against the zone, and you have to break them out of it at some point.
Mike, do you think we're gonna run that double big with Kristaps and Rob? Because that's fucking eye watering, honestly.
Wait, he said Horford though, so I was shocked.
Or Horford.
Yeah, I mean I think just based off of Rob's availability, I mean he's ideal.
Yeah.
Like if he can stay healthy, sure.
Oh yeah.
but if time off Lord is healthy all year, and do it because you saw what happened in the Philadelphia series.
Yeah,
like they just didn't. They did not know what to do, and now you're big. Isn't 6'10"? He's 7'3".
Yeah,
but he's unavoidable.
He worked Embiid when Washington came to Philly last year. I watched the highlights after we made the trade. Embiid was stuck in cement, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to seeing Embiid stuck in cement because once again, Embiid recovers pretty well for a guy his size. He recovers really well. But when a guy that can shoot the way that Porzingis can shoot, like he was out there looking lost. And
I mean, but you
I look forward to him looking lost plenty of times.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. As Philadelphia is currently constituted, I hope they do some shit because as they're currently constituted with all the Harden stuff and everything that's going on there, and that process, I think we would 4-0 them in a playoff series right now with like in theory and theoretical.
I'm. After what happened last year, I know because Mike was laughing at me, and rightfully so, because I lost my mind during the series. But yeah, listen, it's been 40 years, and once again, until it actually happens, so I hear Eddie Palladino say, and that's the ball game. The Sixers win the series, whatever, 4-3 or 4-1, whatever it may be. Like
we all have to continue to donate to the child support fund of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Still are their daddy.
Right,
Still got to pony up, baby.
Yeah, so I'm listen. I'm out on thinking they're gonna. Once again, they may make it competitive, but then they're not going to beat Boston and during this time. Not right now.
So as it is the end of July and August is coming up, football's sort of going to start to take over this parish. So I would love to hear on sort of the last, most likely one of the last conversations we have in full force about the Celtics until this season is almost upon us. I would love to hear everybody's like overall pessimism, optimism of where we are right now, and just a couple of thoughts maybe on what minor moves at this point you would like to see. Mike, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I think we all at the end when the season ended, we all said if they don't make major moves and if they don't make major coaching moves like this, they're just gonna run this back and it's gonna be the same shit. Now, I would argue that they didn't make major coaching moves. I
would have preferred Sam Cassell to be our head coach, to be honest with you, but
right.
That's not going to happen. So.
Joe's still here. They bolt up the assistants around him. And I would say that, Brad Stevens was fucking cold as ice to get rid of Marcus. That's a ballsy move.
Yeah.
And
well, I think his GM career hinges on it, to be quite honest with you. Like I think he pushed all his chips in the middle with this move. So we'll see.
Yeah, but you went out and you fundamentally changed the way that this team has to play on the court. So I am, believe it or not, pretty optimistic about this team as of right now. I think that there could be a couple of, I would say under the radar moves, but, Ray and I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. I think that the big thing I'm going to be looking for, as we get closer to the start of the regular season, is the development of Jordan Walsh. what can he be in his first year? Because if he can be, just a modicum of what we saw in summer league, then I think our top 7, we're getting the relief that we need. Now he's there too.
Right. Over under 66 games
for Jordan Walsh.
No, over under on wins and losses. I'm
going to say under, but if the over under was 57, I'd take over.
Well, 66 is what we won last year, right?
No, they won 57.
57.
Yeah,
they won 66 year. They won the.
Oh yeah,
they won the championship.
Listen, I'm right there. I would love for them to win 66.
66 would be great. Over under 57.
Yeah,
I'll take over.
Yeah, I'll go. I'll say they stay right there. I think they don't go over on. They stay right there at 57, and I think that would be enough to get the 1 seed. I feel like other teams, or at least the top 2 seed, obviously.
Can I just make, before you keep going, Ray, sorry to interrupt you, but if Dame goes to Miami, that changes everything that I just said, by the way. I just want to point that out there, just to cover my own ass.
So I think on paper, I think it would change that.
Honestly, they already had a better.
And the only reason why it wouldn't be, once again, it'd be fun to see him down. I'm not going to say it'd be that fan. It was like, no, he would be phenomenal down there. Like he would be a great addition. But because they have lost so much behind Bam and Jimmy, once again, I like their first round pick. Like he's gonna be nice. He was Pac-12 Player of the Year. Jaime.
They draft low. I mean, they just
they draft low. So their first round pick, he's going to be nice eventually. I mean, and once again, they get Hero back, whatever. So they'll still be.
They're trying to shop him
because they always gonna have a shot. Yeah, exactly. But they'll always have a shot as long as Bowman, the rest of the Braves is there. So I hear you on that. But yeah, I mean, I think I talked about it on the show with David and Bobby a few weeks ago. I had a chance to remove that anger cloud. Myself and a lot of us have. Like, yeah, I mean, listen, I'm gonna have moments where I'm like, yo, I'm annoyed or I'm pissed off. Obviously, like, I would not sit here and be hypocritical and say otherwise. But yeah, this team will show, I think, others why they made the moves they made. And once again, you cannot cry about them wanting or not wanting, but needing to make a change. And then they make the changes, and the changes, somehow end up working, and you still find a way to complain. It's just like, what? It's just like that. That's
welcome to Celtics Twitter, my friend.
Well, so it's like that's unbelievable. Like same thing's going on with the Red Sox too, but that's another conversation for another day. But it's wow. It's just like this. I'm gonna, and once again, hold me to this because I'm saying it on air. I'm gonna do better with just trying to enjoy the moment. Honestly, this team is really good.
Last year you were like a new mint. So we'll see.
Yeah. So it's just I'm trying to enjoy the moment. It's like, look, I'll be even angry. I'll be angry during the playoffs because it's like it matters more. But yeah, I'm enjoying the moment. Like regular season, just play hard, and that's my biggest thing. And make sure the teams know you're the best team coming into the building, whether you're a TD guard or on the road. And I'm fine with that.
If they stay healthy and they develop like the chemistry before the All-Star break, and let's just say that they're over 500. I think I'm okay with that. I want them to approach the season like we want them to approach the games. They don't need to start 21-1 because it doesn't matter. They just need to make sure. I'd be okay. I mean, I'm not. I'm going to promise you right now, I'm not going to abandon them if they don't, because I'd much rather see a team finish strong.
It's a very different team now. We got to figure some shit out. And honestly, like I think that's a great place to end on. I think that I'll just say lastly, finally, Brad Stevens, I've said some things about your ability to get players over a certain height onto this team. I know you're a short king yourself, and I know you wanted some of your people from like whatever woodland fucking forest you come from to come and play elf basketball. But thank you so much for getting Kristaps Porzingis, because right now I'm in my absolute fucking bag thinking about the potential of Kristaps Porzingis or anybody over 7 feet tall playing for this team. Whatever the reality is, I'm in my fucking favorite place. So thank you for being a Keebler elf, but seeing that the Giants had something up. So on that note, for myself, Hollywood Ray, and Mike Marcangelo, this has been Missing the Point.
Welcome, explorers of the human experience. This is Let's Talk Soul, and I'm your host, Claudia Monticelli. We're not afraid of the great mysteries of existence here. Soul versus consciousness, we're on it. Spirituality versus science, we've got that covered too. Join us in navigating these profound topics with wisdom, curiosity, and a dash of audacity. Whether you're a spiritual veteran or just starting your journey, Let's Talk Soul is your passport to the unknown. Let's Talk Soul, diving into the depths of the human spirit. Subscribe now wherever you get your podcasts.
Miles, are you ready to record our promo for Season 2 of the Wanna Bet podcast?
David, have you ever seen a grown man naked?
Miles, we're not here to quote lines from Airplane. We're here to tell people that Season 2 starts August 18th.
But I like Airplane.
I know you do, but Wanna Bet is a sports betting podcast. Each week we bet $1,000 on the NFL teams and games that we love.
Well, that sounds like fun.
It is fun. And last year you picked over 60% of your games correctly.
How'd you do?
We're not talking about that. We are telling people that they can find us every Friday. So no more movie quotes.
Roger.
Electricast.